I felt something penetrate me while I was asleep. Today I found out what my dad did to me. For as long as I can remember, I have been deathly afraid of sleeping alone. One of the starkest memories of my childhood is lying flat on my back in bed, feeling too scared to close my eyes, thinking that if I do, someone will appear next to me. My dad always told me that I was imagining things when I was younger, but I now know the truth is so much more disgusting than I ever thought. As a kid, it felt like he would always just lay on its side, watching me, with shining, unblinking eyes, and I would be too afraid to do anything, to move or scream. This helplessness that I would supposedly feel in an imaginary situation like that pretty much destroyed my childhood. This feeling of someone being next to me went away when my dad died, at least for a while. I didn't think anything of it. I assumed I had just stopped feeling it because of grief. I later found out how much worse the reality was. Yet within a year of his death, the feeling started coming back. Slowly but surely, the fears grew. It was as if I could feel someone breathing on my neck, almost spooning up behind me. I couldn't for the life of me close my eyes without thinking someone was going to be there when I turned around. Every night it felt like they got closer and closer, trying to see if they could get closer without waking me up. I'd wake up the next morning with vivid memories of the feeling, yet I never woke up during it. Sometimes I'd wake up in agonizing pain in my backside. I would always brush it off as just some sort of bruise from my sleeping position, but deep down I knew it couldn't be that. For a while I tried to live with it. I would drink exactly 2 glasses of water every night 2 hours before bedtime, so that I neither feel thirsty, nor do I have to get up to pee at night. I would then make sure all the doors leading outside were closed, draw the curtains, and keep the bathroom light switches on. Definitely the most important part of my nighttime rituals was keeping the pillows in a straight line next to where I slept, to block off space for anyone or anything trying to sleep next to me. I thought it would all end when I finally went to college. I had a single bed in a tiny room, surrounded by hundreds of noisy boys like me. While many others found it irritating, that noise was like a lullaby to me, doing the job of a therapist for me. For once, I no longer felt him behind me, but I still remembered to do my nighttime routine. Everything seemed fine, or at least, I didn't feel anything for a week. That was until one morning when I woke up. I saw the pillows I had arranged the night before were gone. They were neatly placed, one on top of the other, on the side table. The most terrifying thing about this was that it wasn't anything new. This had been happening all throughout my childhood. Each morning, the pillows I had carefully placed next to me would be gone. I had always assumed that it was one of my parents who had done this, especially my father, who was an early riser. But I was living alone now, and all my doors were locked when I checked them in the morning. I initially dismissed this, thinking that I might have forgotten to place them next to me last night. I was actually quite happy with this, as it looked like I was finally getting over my fears. But this happened again the next day, and the next, and the day after that. All of the fears of my childhood were back, stronger than ever. I was back to staying awake like an owl, only dozing off for a maximum of half an hour or so each night, and the pillows would be gone from the bed every morning. It was hell. Now I wasn't a child anymore, so I didn't just assume that something supernatural was happening here. I tried to act like an adult, to think rationally, even as I was too scared to even tilt my head to the left when lying down on the bed. Maybe I was sleepwalking. Maybe that's how those pillows were moving at night all throughout my life. It was not something my parents knew about, however, and instead chastised me for being so cowardly as a grown-ass man. But I needed answers, so I went out and got a video camera and placed it next to my bed. I finally mustered the courage to record what happened during my sleep. I had the camera angled to capture the whole room, ensuring it would catch whoever, or whatever, was moving the pillows. Night fell and I lay down, the camera's red recording light glaring back at me. The night felt longer than ever, with every creak and whisper heightened by my paranoia. As the first rays of sunlight broke through my blinds, I had a sinking feeling. The pillows were once again stacked on the side table. Heart racing, I reached for the camera, eager to see the footage. To my horror, the file showed that it had been accessed and cleared in the middle of the night. There was no evidence, no way of knowing who or what had been in my room. Someone had done this. Desperation took over, and I decided to confide in my closest friend, Jake, who lived in the room opposite mine. I had spoken about my experiences to him before, recounting the stories of how I felt someone behind me, slowly moving closer until they were inside of my behind. Jake listened intently, his brow furrowed with concern. We came up with a final plan. He would take my room key, and at precisely 3 a.m., he would check on me. I knew this would be my only chance of finding it out, so I agreed. Jake was to set his alarm at 3 a.m. and take his phone to record whatever was behind me in my room. That night, as I attempted to sleep, my every sense was on high alert, knowing that Jake would be there in a few hours. Eventually, exhaustion took over, and I slipped into a restless sleep, hopeful that we would finally know the truth. That was until I was jolted awake by the blaring sound of an ambulance outside our dorm. Rushing out, I saw paramedics pushing a stretcher into an ambulance. My blood ran cold when I recognized Jake's limp body. He was pale, his eyes open but lifeless. Tears blurred my vision as I pulled out my phone, hoping for some explanation from Jake. I found a single video message sent from him just a few hours ago. Hesitatingly, I pressed play. The footage was shaky, and I could hear Jake's labored breathing. The camera slowly panned over my room, capturing me sleeping soundly. But what made my heart stop was the sight of my father, laying next to me on the bed, his face just inches away from mine. Jake's whispery voice cut through the silence. I see him. Oh God, I see him. I saw my father's head snap toward the camera, his eyes piercingly cold. With a sudden jolt, he lunged at Jake, the video shaking wildly before cutting off. I have a feeling my father will be back behind me tonight, worse than ever before.